I would like to introduce Mr. Atindra Shukla, who is the currently director of the Shah-Schulman Center for the Surface Science and Nanotechnology, sir. So, sir, can you give a brief introduction about yourself?
Yeah. Hello everybody. Myself, Dr. Atindra Shukla. I did my PhD in chemistry from a CSIR lab, a national lab, and thereafter I pursued my postdoctoral studies in two different locations. One in Weizmann Institute of Science in Israel, and another in University of Miami in USA. Thereafter, I came back to India and joined as a scientist with CSIR lab, and thereafter I switched to academics, because till then I was in a pure research labs and research. Thereafter I switched to academics and joined Dharmsinh Desai University as an associate professor, wherein I was working with Shah-Schulman Center for Surface Science and Nanotechnology as a faculty member or as a team member. And in around 2016, I became a director of this research center, and since then I am continuing as a director as well as associate professor with Dharmsinh Desai University in Shah-Schulman Center. We are working on nanotechnology research specifically, and we deal with higher education, means students with MTech or post-graduation and PhD degree for their R&D activities or research projects and research degrees, like those who are going into PhDs. So this is my brief intro of what we are doing. More on like what our activities will be covered later on.
Okay, sir. So, sir, you have held key position at educational institute throughout your professional career. So, what are the key factors that keep you connected with the education sector, sir?
Yeah, my career began with as a researcher, but when when you are a researcher in an academic institution, particularly top academic institution, you are already in the education field or in education sector.
Yes.
Particularly in abroad, where I did my postdoc, there is not much difference between a research center or research lab and education sector, because research is very interwoven or very connected part of that educational activity, higher education activity in foreign countries. And slowly that scenario is coming into our country also, that most of the educational institute are now slowly becoming research oriented. So yes, if we count that my stint as a researcher, I am since long or quite a long I am associated with education center. And basically what I like about this is we get an opportunity as an educator to infuse fresh ideas or to encourage the young and tender mind in doing something innovative through science for society. And my younger generation, which is very curious one, if some assistance is given by educators, they quickly switched into an innovative pathway where they produce some excellent research work or some excellent innovations which are helpful for our country and our society as a whole. Yeah. So that is a good thing, connect with a young generation is one of the main point for me in education sector.
Really great, sir. So being the director of the Shah-Schulman Center for Surface Science and Nanotechnology, what is your philosophy of leadership and how would you describe your leadership style, sir?
Yeah, I like to take everyone along. My philosophy of leadership is not kind of sheer bossism, but I like to be a equal level or equal weightage team member with my staff and or my students. And then when because the science only flourishes when you allow others to opine their ideas, to use their ideas into actions. Yes, there is a chance of failure because science always proceeds through trial and error. So it is expected there could be some errors or some failures, but I like to give give the chance to the fellow team member to flourish alongside the leader. So my leadership philosophy is to take everyone along, give the equal opportunity to all, and in that sense it should be given to ladies and gents both equal opportunity. So they should not feel a hindrance or any sort of discrimination while working in institution like ours. So that is one of the main philosophy I follow for leadership.
Great, sir. The education system in India and other foreign countries are structured very differently. So, in your experience, what can inbound student gain from studying here in your institute, sir?
What? Yeah. Okay. Educational. Yes, there is a difference in inherent structure of education system.
Yes, sir.
But what happens in Indian institutions is what our students are trained are actually on basics.
Yes, sir.
Because we normally most of the Indian institutions go by a textbook curriculum. I mean, many of the institutions boast about or like to complete the syllabus, whatever is written in their syllabi or whatever textbook they are following, and then what the students are imparted are the textbook level knowledge, and that is also needed. It is very refined one, but it is a textbook level knowledge. Less exposure to practical is relatively possible in our system, and previously there were situations where resources were not enough to create a lot of practical training. Now slowly it is turning more into, now we are entering into skill development, a practical training, practical approach. And slowly with due to this COVID type situation and all, more online courses or teaching. So there practical and theory, no bar, like both way you have to use digital means. So that way slowly we are changing into a more practical oriented thing, but still the strong theoretical or fundamental base is also a very good point of our education system, our Indian education system. And that is felt when our students go out. They feel very confident in terms of principles, basic principles of science, basic principles of other domains, where they have been very strong in that, and then slowly as per the environment they adapt into practical approach or a kind of application part of it in abroad institutions. So where they are more focused on application part of it, like whatever principles you have studied, how to apply them to create gadgets or devices or some kind of services for humanities or societies. And one of the recent example is every one of us might have seen that due to very high moisture, our air conditions start condensing water on their panels and blades and all, and sometimes that water droplets even start dripping and giving water into rooms or whatever they're channelized by pipe. So this methodology is used by many companies to create devices to capture water out of air and moisture, and give a clean water to water starved regions, and from moisture they are generating lot of water. So recently the prime minister also talked about it in I think yesterday on some
Yes, sir.
video calling. So those type of this is basically a simple application of physics principles into an application. So those type of practical applicability approach is what our students need to learn or need to develop just to match the foreign institutions. Otherwise, principally or by basic fundamentals, we are also on a very strong wicket. Our education system is robust in that regard.
Great, sir. Sir, how does the curriculum of the Shah-Schulman Center for the Surface Science and Nanotechnology ensure the best practice of industry, sir?
Yeah, ours is a very kind of unique center because it deals with surface science and nanotechnology. There are several nanotechnology centers in India, but a specific center dealing with surface science and nanotechnology are not very common. So that uniqueness is still there. Apart from that, as a whole, nanotechnology science or nanotechnology field itself is a very interdisciplinary field. So it requires a kind of assimilation of lots of different domains of science and technology working together or joining hands to develop understanding in this subject matter. So our curriculum is designed such a way that to address both the fundamentals of surface science and then its applications in kind of industrial field or industrial applications, as well as nanoscience or nanotechnology and its applications in industry. So slowly now the paradigm shift is coming into industry, that nanotechnology is taking up kind of or it is emerging as one of the fastest emerging field of science, which is driving industrial practices or industrial operations nowadays. And that will be slow because nanotechnology basically is a branch of material science. So materials are everywhere. Every chemical, be it liquid, solid, gas, it is a material. So it is a very vast applicable area. Though it is dealing with very tiny dimension, like a nanometer dimension matter, but normally matter can be divided into smaller and smaller parts, and we can go deep down up to nanoscale. And then if we have clarity about what matter will be behaving at nanoscale, we can always upscale or extrapolate it to the bulk scale or larger scale at what we are going to use the materials. So that way it is going to be very relevant to the industrial practices. And considering that we have apart from curriculum, we have several industry sponsored projects going on in our center, where industrial problems they can come up with. Say for example, an ink company based in Gujarat approached us to work on their ink leakage problem when refills were kept idle vertically for a longer period. Ink were started leaking. So we suggested some of the additives to reduce their flow. Means when they are idle, and only it will start flowing smoothly only when that metal ball will start rolling. So those type of some of industrial problem. One of the contact lens manufacturer based in USA took our help in encapsulating a drug for glaucoma into the contact lens, and whomsoever is wearing those contact lens will get the drug released into his or her eye in a therapeutic dosage for a very long period of time, so that glaucoma therapy through contact lens can be possible, which was not earlier perceived by anyone and used by anyone. So those type of uh, solutions of the problems can be achieved through surface science and nanotechnology. So we try to demonstrate our students and our clients also, those who are into industry, by doing this type of projects or solving their problems, helping them into achieving this type of solutions using surface science and nanotechnology, so that it becomes a kind of practice in industry.
It's really great because the student really get opportunity to work on the live project and with the live industry. So it's really
yes,
great.
they do work on project, and luckily some of them do get fellowship also from industry, and we are very thankful to generous supports of some of the industries. Some of them are really very big industries who can afford their own R&D, but some of them are really very generous to give such projects to institutions like ours, so that such students also can be supported, and our academic field can have a kind of cutting edge industry level science getting done on their own campuses. Or so, and they do help in analyzing the things, or we do send our students to their setup for 1 month or more period to do the testing of whatever experimental finding they have done in lab into the industrial scale or larger scale.
Really great, sir. Sir, what do you think should be the institute top priority over the next 10 years, sir?
Top priority of our institutions?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
over the next
luckily the priority is well set by Prime Minister's pronouncement on skill development. That should be one of the top priority, because slowly what is happening is like, okay, traditionally we were and still we are like largely an agriculture oriented economy. But world is changing very fast. We cannot become a top economic power just based on one or two sectors. Like, okay, so we have achieved something very good in IT also, but IT and agriculture too cannot drive your economy to the top 5 level for a longer sustainable period. So we need to have different skill sets, different areas of the technology or industry to be addressed by our skilled manpower. And yes, manpower we have abundant, we have a very large population, but when just you teach, say for monotony is coming, like say everyone is becoming a medical doctor, or everyone is becoming an engineer, everyone is becoming only computer engineer. Those things are not, we need to have a very diverse plan. And I don't know, it is happening little less, but slowly it is happening. But most of the top level academies or institutions should design their curriculum in keeping industry, I mean, like in a loop. Like in their curriculum or syllabus committee, there should be top names from industry also as a panel member. They should be invited. There should be discussion among the academicians and industrialists or top R&D heads of industries, that where they need manpower, in which section or which segment they need manpower, what type of engineers. We should not rely on hype that okay, so and so is hiring or XYZ country is hiring lots of computer engineers, so let us put our all manpower learning into computer engineering. We should diversify, because the challenged time shows us that one sector dependence is not very good for economy. Many of the European countries are suffering due to that. Many other countries have suffered in past. So we have to diversify our skill sets, and that is should be the priority for next 10 years for our academic institution, and for that we must keep industry in loop. Industry should be partner with most of the academies when they are designing their curriculum or curricula for all the academic activities for next 10 years. And every 5 years or every 10 years there should be a very good thorough review of their curriculum, again with the same panel having industries and other thing luckily we are in such a position that there are so many Indians who have gone out in abroad and achieved so much. They have achieved international level prizes, and they are still accessible whenever we invite them as their motherland or their native country. They come back to India and give their services at a very readily, and those things are actually very encouraging. So they can be also invited and asked for their inputs into that, and but that is what I feel the top priority should be: skill development, and
Yes,
that
sir.
is in alignment with industrial inputs.
Great, sir. Sir, any suggestion you would like to give to the current youth and the aspiring the students?
Yes, many times I have felt like students normally go after say marks, or yeah, that is okay. Most of the time they, especially the students at tender age, completing 12th science, they are not very mature enough to take their own decisions. That
Yes,
is one of the thing. Our family culture is like that, so their parents normally do take decisions. That is okay, but then parents are also not many times very well aware about the how quickly world is changing. They also go by like, okay, everyone is opting for computer science, or everyone is opting for IT, so that is why I want to put my son or daughter into IT. Or so those things, they should not go by hype and all those things. They should focus more on their child's abilities, that
yes,
what they want to do, in what they will excel, and then whatever they choose. Like many times some people are in position of choosing something, like they had a good enough marks to be in merit and choose three four choose something from 3 4 different choices or options. But there are certain students who don't have any choice, and they have to go for something which is prestigious or which is respectable enough. And when they go into that, they should not lose their heart. They have to keep one thing in mind: whatever you go into, whatever field you choose into, or wherever you end up in your graduation or higher education, you should be in top 10.
yes, sir.
If you are in top 10 in your class or in your college, definitely you will be in a top runner for getting placement, or you will be in a top demand for companies coming on campus, or even whenever you are applying outside or abroad institutions. Even abroad institutions, yes, obviously they have a different criteria. As I said, that our system goes more on merits and mark, or whatever score they are, grades and credits and all. But apart from that, foreign institutions see their research aptitude. They ask them to write a project themselves, and that is a really tough challenge for them, because till graduation they have never ventured into writing themselves a project, or they might have lots of ideas in mind, but they have never tried writing them down into a proper format what world understands. So those things they have to try. They have to open up their horizon into kind of a global view, never to be centric into that, and centric to some local area wherever you have born and brought up. But they have to look into a global perspective, whatever they are going to do in next 5-10 years of their higher education. Normally higher education in India is say 5 to 7 8 years. Except those who choose PhD, they have a longer academic life to serve. But other than that, I think 5 to 7 years. So in that period, what they want to do, they have to decide with a very broad mind. And for that, they need to, and problem in our system is like during 10th and 12th, they are so much burdened with curriculum and merit and scores that they cannot have a chance to read the other things, other perspectives, global experts' opinion on different technologies or different trends in market and technologies. All those things they have to, I think, if they get some chance during even studying that to analyze these things parallelly, that will make them little more mature and their parents also.
Yes.
So that is, I think, my advice to them.
Really great, sir, for the current youth. And so really this answer will help to the current student and really helpful for the student who are aspiring to take admission in your institute. And they will get more insights about your institute, your institute vision and your future planning, sir. And sir, once again, I want to say thank you from my side, also from the College Dunia, for accepting this invitation and being the guest of our series Thought on Education, sir.